I know it's an if because there's a lot of either suspensions or injury problems with a lot of these guys. But I look at their wide receiver core. Man, how do you not get excited? You have Devontae Parker, you have Will Fuller, you have Jalen Waddle, you have Preston Williams, who before he got injured last year was showing himself to be like a legitimate starter, like one or two, and they now have two guys that are going to be in front of him, and then our guy Lynn Bowden's there.
Yeah.
On top of it, it's like I know there was a lot of problems with Tua last year, but he definitely felt like he had a connection with Gesicki. I mean, they have a combination of size, speed, and quickness. So, and their other strength, I'll just say real quick, is Xavier Howard and Byron Jones at corner. I mean, they have two stud corners who could be number ones on most teams. I will say the one weakness I see in the team still is Tua. I mean, he had some moments, but he averaged 6.3 yards per attempt. I mean, he has to improve his deep pass. And I know he threw 5 interceptions at a camp recently, but it was in torrential downpour, essentially like hurricane conditions. But they were also mainly focusing on that. They just want him to throw in these camps downfield so he gets comfortable and used to everyone. I have them going 11-6 and just missing the playoffs.
Okay. I think so. You're going to make, I'm assuming New England number 2 in your rundown.
Yes.
I would flip those. I would say that I give Miami a better shot at making the playoffs than I do New England, just because of, at this point, the quarterback situation in New England to me is a little bit more up in the air. Not sure about which Cam is going to come out, if he is going to be the guy, and that sort of thing. But I say that the Dolphins will be much improved. They were pretty good last year. What were they? They were like 10-6 last year.
That's correct, 10-6.
Yep.
So, yeah, I do think that they will make the playoffs this time around. It's just depending on New England's offense. New England's defense traditionally is pretty good, but I question the offense at this point.
And check out T-Dog, by the way, going with the 11-6, already counting on the 17-game season. He's already got that dialed in. So does that mean a team will be 7-10 and make the playoffs? Let's wait for that in the coming years. But I have a question about Lynn Bowden.
Yeah.
Is he or is he not, or could he not be the X factor for the Dolphins?
I didn't really put in their weaknesses, but again, both these guys played well. Salam and the main one was Myles Gaskin. Their running backs are solid, and they truly, like New England, don't believe really in having, I guess, a stud running back. They just have an assortment. So he could be tried out as a running back, because obviously, again, going back to UK, he led in rushing that year. I think he can be an X factor. And again, like I forget, like they came out recently that there was some weird shenanigans that left him bouncing out of Vegas. It still seems kind of utterly bizarre and just more egg on the face of Vegas a little bit, it seems like. So I think it's a big win for the Dolphins. And to be fair to Luggs, I'm not completely disagreeing them with the Patriots, because I'll just do their prediction first for their record. I have them 12-5. So to be fair to Luggs, I had the Dolphins 11-6. I just have them. So like, I'm not saying there isn't a chance for them to be better. I agree with them. There is. I guess I have more faith in Cam. I'll believe the reports that he looks better, like they've talked about, and obviously he knows the playbook better. And also, you hear about Mac Jones. It sounds like he might actually win out. I mean, they haven't ruled out. This isn't like Matt Nagy being like, Andy Dalton's going to be our starter.
Andy Dalton's our quarterback.
Belichick has not said that. So there's a chance that Mac Jones takes over. I mean, their strength to me is actually on their offensive side, but it's the rushing attack. Again, none of these guys are, like I said, like phenomenons, kind of like Miami, but Damian Harris, you have Cam Newton, you have Sony Michel, and their rookie, Ramondre Stevens. They essentially say he's like a LeGarrette Blount clone. and you know how much success he had in New England, LeGarrette Blount. I mean, they had over 2,346 yards rushing and 20 rushing touchdowns last year. And you look at how many guys on the defense opted out primarily, and all those guys, for the most part, are going to be back. I mean, their defense is going to be better. Again, like their DBs are their strength. Stephon Gilmore and J.C. Jackson helped the secondary have 52 pass breakups and 18 interceptions. So, I mean, and it's like I said, the pass rush is going to be better because Dante Hightower is there. They snatched. I'm blanking on the Judon from the Ravens. Winovich from Michigan, who they drafted last year, I would assume he'll be better this year. So I just think I think that's why I have them over Miami. Is they were 7-9 last year, but they had so many guys opt out. And like we've talked about it a few times before, Cam Newton was never the same after he came back from COVID, like week 3 or whatever. I just don't think he ever got back to rhythm. And their wide receivers were the worst wide receiver core in the league. And it's still, to me, the worst because my weakness is Nelson Aguilar and Bourne are good. Myers is good too. But there's no talent on that wide receiver core that wows you. They're all solid. That's it.
Yeah, so it comes down to scheme, and Belichick is always really good at game planning. So I think you're right. They have a real good chance just because of Belichick, and he will figure out how to use those personnel, especially the defense coming back. So
yeah.
And so Hightower opted out altogether last year, right?
Correct.
So what do you guys think of guys who opted out? Will they be better, stronger, in better shape, more physically fit because they didn't get beat up last year?
I don't know about that. I think you have to just keep playing and to keep that full contact NFL football. You got to do it, every week. I mean, even though you're playing injured most of the time, not playing for a year, that hurts. I think that hurts you. I think you get a little slack.
He was probably selling used cars anyway, wasn't he, in the offseason?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that was the 1960s Green Bay Packers. Sorry. Next.
I was just going to say right before I go to the Buffalo Bills, I know this is a cop-out to what you asked, J-Boy, but I'd say some of them will react because they didn't have wear and tear, and they'll be fine because they stayed in good shape. Some of them did take good care of themselves, and those are the guys you'll see pop up with like hamstring injuries or maybe like pulling their Achilles because they didn't do the proper amount of training. Certain guys will forget. Some guys will be like riding a bicycle back on. I don't think, again, like with a lot of things, I think it's a broad range of spectrum. Some of it will be good for, some will be bad for.
Well, but look at Tebow. It's 12 years he hasn't played, and we know he's going to be great. So Let's see how this plays out.
Hey, they didn't invite him to tight end university, though. So
that's right. He does have an edge because of that. Speaking of actual great quarterbacks in the NFL, Josh Allen, he is definitely Buffalo's main strength. I mean, he was a legitimate MVP candidate last year. Threw for 4,500 yards, 37 touchdown passes, only 10 interceptions. 421 yards rushing, 8 rushing touchdowns. I mean, the guy did it all. He did it all. I mean, he was an absolute stud. You go, Lux.
I was just going to say, and he's got a good cast of receivers around him. Stephon Diggs and Cole Beasley are great hits for him. Cole Beasley especially is a good, just get him 4 yards, that kind of dart inside small guy. So. Yeah. And Stephon's your deep threat for sure.
Well, yeah, that's the crazy thing about Diggs. I have him as their other strength. I gave them 2 strengths. Like I gave a few teams because Diggs, I think a lot of it was Josh Allen, but I give a lot of credit to Stephon Diggs for unlocking Josh Allen because even though he can go deep, he also can work the short and intermediate because he's a good route runner. I just think he was a guy who was good in Minnesota, but they never truly took advantage of his full capability that Josh Allen could. So that makes you feel better, Lugs, about how you feel about our guy in Minnesota. So it's like me kind of taking a shot at him. But The weakness I do see for the team, which hopefully they address, is the rushing defense. They allowed 1,914 yards rushing and 21 rushing touchdowns last year. And I think you go back and look at their game against KC. KC just kind of ran on them. I think Tennessee kind of went to town on them. So it's just hopefully they can shore that up. And we saw in the playoffs, the main thing is they need a better pass rush. I think they had 38 sacks last year, which is actually pretty solid. But there isn't a guy on that team that really wows you. I believe Mario Addison led the team in sacks with, I think, 6 or 5.5. So they need to find – and that's who they drafted. Their first 2 draft picks were pass rushers because they know what their weakness is. So I applaud them on that. I have them going 13-4, winning the AFC East.
And let's not forget that backup quarterback, Mitchell Trubisky.
Another strength.
Yeah. Wow.
That's some good stuff there. Okay.
Obviously, did you see any Super Bowl contender of these teams?
Buffalo, maybe.
Oh, for sure, I think.
Yeah. I'm a maybe on Buffalo making it.
Yeah. I think that
they got a strong shot. I mean, they got some other teams, obviously, big-time teams in their way, but I think they got a good chance to be there. Knocking on the door for sure.
Yeah,
as long as they can pile up some points in games, because you were talking about defense. Buffalo has to score, I'm thinking, at least 30 points per game against quality opponents, because they're not going to stop them. I don't think those 2 rookies are going to help them that much right off the bat. They may, but anyway, yeah, they have to score some serious points to build that cushion for when they have that breakdown across the middle or whatever.
Yeah, I agree with you all. I think that's the only team to really have a chance at the Super Bowl. Like I said, I think Patriots are good, but I will agree with Lugs at least with terms of the quarterback. I don't believe enough in Cam Newton or Mac Jones that take them to the final game of the season.
Very good. And that's the AFC East Sport Weasel style. So, Lugs, you had some, I think you said some sports of.
Yes, we do.
Here we go. It's sports of yesteryear. From the Wayback Machine to the Front Machine to the Candy Machine. Here he is, Lugs with sports of yesteryear.
All right, continuing our football theme. In 1922, the American Professional Football Association became the National Football League. In that same year, charter NFL club Chicago Staleys renamed themselves Chicago Bears by team founder, owner, and head coach Papa Bear George Halas. In 1936, rookie outfielder Joe DiMaggio tied a major league record in that he hit 2 home runs in the same inning for a total of 8 bases. So that was pretty amazing. 1947, future Hall of Famer Jackie Robinson steals the first of 19 career home steals with the Brooklyn Dodgers. And getting closer to home here, 2010, the NBA draft, UK point guard John Wall was the first pick by the Washington Wizards. So that kind of gives you a roundup of sports on this date throughout the years.
Thank you, Lugs, for that little report about John Wall and his wall. Whatever. Sports of yesteryear. Okay, some other things here. Little bit. Speaking of football, did you know Bellarmine University will start a Midwest Sprint Football League? You guys ever hear of Sprint Football? Started in 1934, and no player can weigh more than 178 pounds.
Huh.
Yeah.
So do they have 11 on
Yep.
team? Or?
Full-size field, just smaller guys. You do the math.
Wow. Hell, I could probably start at halfback at the end, with those guys. Come on. Bring it.
What's the weight of the wide receivers? I mean,
yeah, 114-pound range. I don't know, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so think about that. Look for that this fall. And another one.
I mean,